Well, here we go, Shakespeareans. I'm going to do my best to help you out a little bit with Othello. Well, actually, a lot. Um, you got to read it, you got to read it, and you got to reread it, and you got to look up words, and you got to use footnotes, and then turn to me for a little bit of help. There are audio versions you can listen to, and then the last week before the final, view the Lawrence Fishburne video, which is available on Amazon and I believe on Netflix too. And I'll remind you of that. But don't get that backwards. Don't look at the video and think somehow that's going to do it for you. You won't understand too much. I mean, you'll get the visual cues, but not enough. So I'm going to say that's the way you should do things. A little plug for Shakespeare. Something I hear pretty often. I just don't understand that old English. Seriously, it's not old English. Old English actually looks like German because it's from the same branch of the Indo-European family of languages as German. It's Germanic. Shakespeare wasn't writing, 499. No, he was not writing Old English. He was writing early modern English. That's right, modern English. And a really good connection for that is the King James version of the Bible, which is full of, these and thou shalt not. So, which makes it I guess in our minds, sort of holy sounding, but that is the language of Shakespeare. It's exalted. It's inspirational. It's powerful. It's moving. And it's not Old English. No. Okay. So in an earlier lecture, which you probably didn't watch, I mentioned that quote from Shelley that poets are the unacknowledged legislators of mankind. Now, Shakespeare made up all kinds of words. I thought I'd share just a little bit with you. Auspicious, baseless, barefaced, castigate, dexterously, sanctimonious. Apparently, this didn't show up before Shakespeare put them in his place. Just think about this for a minute. You sit down one morning and say, well, I think I'll just make up a whole bunch of words that enter the English language and become part of the consciousness of the English speaker. Wow. He had a 30,000 plus word vocabulary apparently. Now then, all these phrases he invented. It's Greek to me. Fair play. All that glitters isn't gold. Wear your heart on your sleeve. That's from Othello, of course. Break the ice. Clothes make the man. Laughing stock. Too much of a good thing. I mean, we go on and on. These are now cliches. To the point where, kind of a funny story of a former student of a colleague of mine who at one point after reading, I think it was Julius Caesar or some such play, commented to the instructor, Shakespeare isn't so great. He's all full of cliches. Well, they weren't cliches in Shakespeare's time. It just showed. Oh, there, camera stopped for a second. Okay, I'm going to try to help you out as best I can, and it's got to be fast. Act 1, Scene 1. Iago and Rodrigo are talking. I mean, you just have to imagine this. That's my Iago costume. Iago gets away with what he gets away with, partly because he's such a great manipulator, partly because he's charming, he's charismatic, he's actually fun. He's the life of the party in some ways. Yes, he has this incredibly dark side, this evil power that he uses to control the lives of others and move them to murder. Did you say Charles Manson? Well, Charles Manson probably wasn't the charmer, or isn't, that Iago was. He takes over the play in a certain way because he is so incredibly adept at manipulating others. So, of course, who does he manipulates the most? Rodrigo. Rodrigo and he are having some banter at the very beginning, and Rodrigo says, hey, basically, he took some money from me. I never got it back. I said, just trust me. Iago, just trust me. And despise me if I don't hate them more. Hate Othello. Why? Well, you know what? I was passed over for a promotion. I was passed over for a promotion. Uh, by For whom? This Michael Cassio, Florentine, Othello, almost damned and a fair wife, never set a squadron to the field, nor the division of a battle knows, more than a spinster, unless the bookish theoric, wherein the togaed consuls can propose as masterly as he, mere prattle without practice. In other words, he's a dandy. I mean, this Cassio, he got the lieutenant position. I wanted it. So trust me, Rodrigo, I'm going to get back at that more. And he may have taken your beloved, your girlfriend. This Rodrigo, he's an utter fool. He's an utter fool. He's so easily led astray, isn't he? He's, oh my gosh, a fool is born every few seconds. He's one of them. So he's gullible, is he not? Yeah. So Iago, on page 764. Oh, sir, he's trying to convince Rodrigo, I'm on your side. I'm against Othello. Othello passed me over, gave the lieutenant position to somebody who doesn't deserve it, who didn't have battle experience such as I have. Here we go. Jealousy, that green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds upon. Jealousy. Instill jealousy in others. Instill it. But he himself, Iago, really admits to being, in so many words, jealous because he was passed over for this promotion, right? I follow him, and this is line 45, 46. Follow him to serve my turn upon him. We cannot all masters be masters, nor all masters cannot truly be followed. And he goes on to describe people who are subservient and who appear to simply take orders without asking questions, like an ass. The crummy there it goes. The crummy camera stopped for a second. But anyway, Iago says to Rodrigo, don't worry, I'm on your side. I'm going to work against Othello. And you know what? For heaven is my judge, he says, line about, what, 63? No, not I for love and duty, but seeming so for my peculiar end. For when my outward action doth demonstrate the native act and figure of my heart, in compliment extern, 'tis not long after, here's that famous line, I will wear my heart upon my sleeve. In other words, I'm pretending to follow Othello. I'm pretending to sort of just be a stooge and do what he says, but don't worry. So then we have this virtually comical, crazy scene. Iago tells Brabantio that, oh, you're robbed, your daughter's gone, he stole, and there's some terrible sexual, racist innuendos here, you know, covered by a bartery horse here. So here's Othello, who is a career soldier, let's say. He is a man of action. He is often depicted as being somewhat slow and deliberate of speech with this deep rumbling voice, sort of a James Earl Jones type. But he is not really well fitted and suited for high-class Venetian society. And so, in a way, he's, yes, mercenary, go fight my wars for me. You know, you are valuable in as much as you can go fight and lead as a general and help protect Venice, the city-state. But Othello himself is ill at ease in many ways within this society. And so here again, you know, Iago's going to exploit all that. So, you know, Brabantio is like, you know, what profane wretch are there, shouting and yelling, screaming, disturbing the peace beneath my window, until he finds out his daughter, his young daughter, his teen daughter, is run off with, by whom? By Othello. So then Brabantio, of course, brings it to court. I mean, he brings it to the authorities in Venice, pleads his case, and Iago, of course, is already cozying up to Othello. And he does this, page 769, 770. He has this way of ingratiating himself and making himself seem as though he were an ally to Othello. And there's, of course, Cassio, who is now the lieutenant, and Iago is really just bitter about that. And Brabantio says, 772, how did you steal my daughter? Such, you're foreign, you're dark, you're swarthy, you don't fit here. So many words, right? And he said, this is powerful stuff, I can't go through it all, but line 62, O thou foul thief, talking to Othello, where hast thou stowed my daughter? Daddy's talking now. Damned as thou art, thou hast enchanted her. In other words, she wouldn't go with you unless you did what? In so many words, you drugged her, you entranced her. For I refer me to all things of sense. If she in chains of magic were not bound with her maid so tender, fair, and happy, so opposite to marriage that she shunned the wealthy curled darlings of our nation. These are the suitors that would be handsome, daring, debonair, dashing, you name it, young Venetian Brad Pitts, whatever. But they are very, very desirable, and she didn't want him. She wanted him anything to do with him. So what did you do, Othello? You must have practiced on her with foul charms. Oh, I forgot. This is my Brabantio hat. Practiced on her with foul charms, abused her delicate youth with drugs or minerals. What did you use on her? Ecstasy, in order to get her to go with you. Thou art an abuser of the world, a practicer of arts inhibited, out of warrant. Lay hold of, arrest him! Come on, hey, there's my case. No, I'm not going to arrest him. Why not? Why isn't the Duke going to arrest him? I'm waiting for your answer. That's right, because he needs him to fight the battles for Venice. Against whom? If you need a reference, for the Elizabethan Shakespeare's audience, these Turks are going to be very much like terrorists, thugs, Al-Qaeda, you name it, because they are regarded as lawless brutes, invaders, barbarians of the whole bit. Okay, all right. So the Duke says, in so many words, hey, Brabantio, don't carry this dissatisfaction over what's happened with you. The best thing to do is just to let it go. Over time, it's not going to fester so much. And, then Brabantio has this very sort of wise-ass answer to the Duke. He says, well, okay, yeah, if that's the way you do things, then why don't you just forget about the fact that the Turks are probably going to invade Venice, and we are going to be, and you are going to be in a terrible bind. Just let it go. Don't worry about it. It's not, your grievance is not anything you should really bother yourself about. Well, so that exchange goes on. Yeah, there's so much psychology in this, isn't there? And so Brabantio is not happy with the outcome, and Othello continues on, and he has this incredibly long and powerful speech in which he explains, line 130 and following, Othello explains how he wooed Desdemona, how he pulled this off. It wasn't through drugs, it wasn't through magic, it wasn't through hypnosis or any such. It was through what? Simply being honest about his background. And she was taken with that. She was wooed with that. Of his suffering, he talks about. Of these incredible sights that he's seen across the globe. And often did, he said, beguile her with my tears. See, he's full of great of heart. He's great of heart. That's the tragedy, or much of it. He is great of heart, but he does not see how he's being used, how he's being manipulated by basically a murderer who has other people do the murdering for him. And does he have a motive? Does Iago have a motive? One of the questions that will come up on the final and so on will be just that. Is he motiveless, as Coleridge says? Well, it seems like we've already mentioned he has a motive. He also seems to get a perverse sociopathic pleasure out of watching other people suffer, and stand back and watch the death and mayhem that he sets loose in his very clever way. And there are some lines that you should know about if you read carefully regarding Iago, because he says he plants a seed, of doubt. He plants a seed in Othello of jealousy. And he does it so cleverly. Oh, no, I can't say anything against Cassio. I would never, no. Don't ask me any further. Don't ask me any more about that. So he says, and he refuses to divulge any sort of information that might point explicitly to Cassio as carrying on an affair. But what does he do? He plants the seed. He says, well, youth will have its way. They're young and attracted, no doubt, to each other. And so immediately, Othello's beginning to feel more and more on the outs. And I submit this to you. Is jealousy rational? Not by definition. So all you have to do is remember the last time you were jealous. Are you human? Have you ever been jealous? I think so. And if you think back to that, you think, oh my gosh, here it goes. That like is attracted to like. This is the logic that he's planting. Iago is planting in Othello's unsuspecting brain. And you, Othello, are not like. You do not match up with this young girl with whom you are now married. But was that Cassio I just saw walk away rather suspiciously from Desdemona? And what about that handkerchief? Well, there it is. So Iago gives us really absolute, scathingly, bald-faced, clear description of what he thinks we ought to do when he uses Roderigo once again for his fool. In Roderigo, he's a bumbling fool. So by the time we get to 784, Iago says, line 300 approximately, virtue a fig, 'tis in ourselves that we are thus or thus. Our bodies are our gardens, to the which our wills are gardeners, so that if we will plant nettles or sow lettuce or set hyssop or weed up thyme, supply it with one gender of herbs or distract it with many, either to have it sterile with idleness or manured with industry. Why the power and corrigible authority of this lies in our wills. You can choose. You can choose how you're going to address this whole situation, how you're going to act, and if you're going to act like a man, Roderigo, or are you going to just take it lying down? This is a pep talk he's given him. And this powerful metaphor of the garden, look, you can plant weeds in yourself, or you can plant productive plants, and you can make of yourself what you wish. This is almost a Nietzschean type of, obviously before Nietzsche, but this type of power that you can control. You can make of it what you will. And so Iago lays another argument out here. He's so clever psychologically. This other argument that, you know what, this whole affair, if you want to call it, it's a marriage, but it's a very fragile marriage, he's saying, between Othello, who's a mismatch, and Desdemona, not only in age, but in society, and in manners, and in orientation, socially. It's a mismatch. So Iago says this about love. And it apparently may be the way he regards love, because he does not feel it. He does not have the feelings, apparently, of love. He says to Roderigo to encourage him that he can have Desdemona, which of course he can. He never can. But it's merely, love is a lust of the blood. I'm on line 329. Is be a man. Here you go, the appeal to the manhood. Drown thyself, because Roderigo's moaning and groaning. He says, oh, I'm going to drown myself. I can't have my Desdemona. What am I going to do? And he just whines. I mean, literally, he whines about this. And Iago says, hey, don't worry, be a man. Drown what? Cats and blind puppies, I profess me to be thy friend, and I confess me knit to thy deserving with cables of perdurable toughness. Perdurable toughness. Wow. That is something, huh? So,